Did you know an entire village died in complete silence from an invisible killer that came from a lake? On the evening of August 21st, 1986, families around Lake Nyos in Cameroon were living their normal lives. Children played near the peaceful crater lake while parents prepared dinner. But something deadly was building beneath the water's surface. That night, the lake suddenly released a massive cloud of carbon dioxide. The invisible gas rolled silently across the land, suffocating everything in its path. When rescue teams arrived the next morning, they found a scene frozen in time. Families sat dead at their dinner tables. Children lay motionless in their beds. Cattle stood perfectly still in fields, all life drained from them. Survivor Joseph Nkwine described waking to find his entire family dead around him. He remembered only a strange smell before losing consciousness. 1,700 people and 3,500 animals died that night across 16 miles. The lake still holds deadly gas today, and scientists warned it could happen again at any moment. Did you know a bridge killed 88 men before it was even finished? The Quebec Bridge was meant to be the world's longest cantilever span, stretching across the St. Lawrence River. Workers climbed the massive steel structure every day, proud to build something that would last forever. On August 29, 1907, 75 men were working on the south span when the bridge suddenly shuddered. They felt the steel twist beneath their feet and started running toward shore. But there was nowhere to go. In 15 seconds, the entire span collapsed, sending workers plummeting 150 feet into the dark water below. Tons of twisted metal crashed down, trapping men in the riverbed mud. Recovery teams found bodies embedded so deep they couldn't be removed. 9 years later, as they installed the replacement span, it happened again. 13 more workers died when the new section fell during construction. The bridge finally opened in 1917, but those 88 men never left. Their bodies remain entombed in the foundations forever. Did you know a single screwdriver slip caused one of the most horrifying deaths in scientific history? In 1946, physicist Louis Slotin was working at Los Alamos with the deadliest object on Earth, a plutonium core surrounded by two beryllium hemispheres, barely held apart by a screwdriver. Slotin was known for his reckless experiments. His colleagues called his work tickling the dragon's tail. On May 21st, his hand slipped. The hemispheres snapped together, and a brilliant blue flash filled the room. In that instant, Slotin knew he was dead. The radiation dose was massive. He calmly pulled the hemispheres apart with his bare hands, saving his colleagues' lives. Then began 9 days of pure horror, vomiting, his skin peeling off, organs shutting down one by one. The worst part? This same core had already killed another scientist months earlier. They called it the Demon Core. Slotin's agonizing death finally forced new safety rules, and the cursed core was destroyed in weapons testing. One screwdriver slip, 9 days of hell. Did you know a man died alone in a flooded reactor room to prevent an underwater nuclear apocalypse? October 1986. Soviet submarine K-219 was patrolling deep in the Atlantic when a missile tube suddenly exploded. Seawater poured into the nuclear reactor compartment. The crew had 16 hours before total meltdown. As radiation levels spiked, the reactor couldn't be shut down remotely. Someone had to go inside manually. It was a death sentence. 20-year-old seaman Sergei Preminin volunteered. He knew the radiation would kill him within hours. He descended into the flooded compartment alone, wading through contaminated water in complete darkness. For agonizing minutes, he worked to shut down the reactor as his body absorbed lethal doses of radiation. He succeeded, but the hatch jammed. He was trapped. Days later, when the submarine was raised, they found his body still there. His sacrifice prevented a Chernobyl-scale disaster in the ocean. The Soviet government covered it up. His family was never told how he really died. One man's final moments in hell saved countless lives. Did you know the worst diving accident in history happened in just milliseconds? November 5, 1983, the Byford Dolphin oil rig sat 300 feet below the North Sea surface. 5 divers were finishing routine saturation diving work. slowly decompressing in their chamber. The process takes hours. Their bodies needed time to adjust from 9 atmospheres back to normal pressure. But then someone made a fatal mistake. A clamp was accidentally released during the decompression process. In an instant, the pressure dropped from 9 atmospheres to 1. 4 divers died immediately. Their bodies literally exploded from the inside out. The 5th diver was partially sucked through a 24-inch opening. His body compressed and forced through the gap. One victim was found scattered in pieces throughout the chamber. The scene was so horrific that rescue workers needed therapy for decades afterward. The investigation revealed simple human error caused this nightmare. A single moment of carelessness turned routine work into the most gruesome diving disaster ever recorded. Did you know giant hornets once turned an entire province into a nightmare zone? In late summer 2013, children in Shanxi province walked to school like any other day while farmers gathered their harvest. But something deadly was stirring in the mountains. Climate change had created perfect breeding conditions for Asian giant hornets, armed with 6mm stingers, packed with flesh-dissolving venom. Then the attacks began. Massive swarms descended on villages, hunting humans like prey. Entire communities barricaded themselves indoors as clouds of hornets patrolled outside. 73-year-old Ma Futang was stung over 200 times. His skin turned black as the venom attacked his nervous system. He died from organ failure days later. Hospitals ran out of anti-venom as over 1,600 people flooded in with multiple organ failure. The neurotoxic venom literally dissolved flesh while attacking the brain. For weeks, no one was safe outdoors. Nature's most terrifying predator had declared war on humanity. Did you know one of the world's worst industrial disasters happened while an entire city was sleeping? In December 1984, the Union Carbide pesticide plant in Bhopal, India was considered perfectly safe by international standards. Workers went home that night expecting another normal shift the next day. But around midnight on December 2nd, something went terribly wrong. 40 tons of deadly methyl isocyanate gas began leaking from a massive storage tank. The toxic cloud spread silently across the sleeping city like invisible death. Families woke up gasping for air, their lungs burning, blood pouring from their mouths. The gas was heavier than air, so it sank into homes where children slept. By morning, the streets were filled with bodies of people and animals who tried to escape. Survivors stumbled through toxic fog, completely blind from chemical burns. Pregnant women went into labor from the shock, babies born with severe deformities. Over 15,000 people died in the following weeks from organ failure. One leak, one night, an entire city poisoned. Did you know a man was kept alive for 83 days while his body literally fell apart at the cellular level? In September 1999, Hisashi Uchi was doing routine work at Japan's Tokaimura nuclear plant. He was mixing uranium fuel when something went terribly wrong. A blue flash filled the room. In seconds, he absorbed 17,000 times the safe annual radiation limit. His DNA was completely destroyed, but doctors refused to let him die. They wanted to study what extreme radiation does to the human body. Within days, his chromosomes crumbled apart under microscopes. His skin began peeling off in sheets, regenerating without genetic instructions. The new tissue grew back deformed and useless. His immune system collapsed, but he remained conscious through it all. He begged the doctors to let him die, but they kept him alive. His organs slowly liquefied as his body tried to repair itself with broken blueprints. For medical science, he became the most extreme radiation study in history. His suffering taught us exactly how radiation destroys us from the inside out.